Sentinels around the Xavier Institute? What are they doing there? Are they going to attack the school? Wait, but who are these people and why are they targeting the Gray family? What do they actually want? This is arguably the most heartbreaking story, at least since I started this channel. This is the story of how Jean Grey's family was wiped out in just one night, and honestly, I hope this story doesn't leave you feeling as sad or angry as I did when I wrote this. All right, let's get into the story. Okay, we start our story with a flashback from Rachel Grey. For those who don't know who Rachel Grey is, she's the daughter of Cyclops and Jean Grey from the future, who traveled back to the past, which is our present, to prevent terrible things from happening to mutant kind. But what exactly was so horrifying in the future that made Rachel come back? So, in Rachel's future, almost every superhero, Avengers, X-Men, you name it, has been wiped out by the Sentinels. Basically, in this future, Sentinels rule the world and hunt down every mutant. This is what Rachel is trying to stop by coming back. But unfortunately, things don't always go according to plan, right? Even in the present, Sentinels are everywhere. Well, they're not actively destroying mutants and wiping everyone out just yet, but their presence is more like supervisors, just in case these mutants cause any trouble. Mutants can still go about their business, but if they mess up, the Sentinels will strike. Just think of them as mutant police, except they're giant robots and they're purple. Okay, intro's done. Let's dive into the real story. Rachel is playing basketball with her grandfather, John Grey, in the backyard. They're super close, and even though Jean Grey doesn't have kids in this main timeline, John, Jean's dad, already treats Rachel like his own granddaughter. Oh, a little extra info if you're not familiar with Rachel Grey. Since she's Jean's daughter, she has powers similar to Jean's, which are high-level telekinesis and telepathy. They're having so much fun playing hoops until they get a bit competitive, especially Rachel. She really wants to win, to the point where she unconsciously uses telekinesis to help her sink the ball, and she's so happy when she pulls it off. John reminds her that she shouldn't use powers in this game, and Rachel, being the sweet granddaughter, immediately gives him a big hug. From a distance, Jean's mother and John's wife, Elaine, expresses her joy, because having Rachel around makes the house feel lively again. Because, as we know, when Jean joined the X-Men, she had to leave John and Elaine behind. Elaine goes inside, and this is where we see what's really in her heart. She's still struggling to accept that Jean was taken away by Charles Xavier, only for her daughter to eventually die as the Phoenix. Okay, one of these days I'll cover the event where Jean Grey dies. But essentially, this story takes place while Jean is gone. Deep down, Elaine is grieving for her daughter, but also grateful for Rachel's presence. You really feel for Elaine. But without her realizing it, Rachel actually reads Elaine's emotions using her telepathy and shares her grandmother's sadness. John tries to comfort her, saying Elaine just needs time to make peace with Jean's passing. He then leads Rachel away. The scene shifts elsewhere, where Psylocke is out for a morning run in the woods near the Xavier Institute. We see Psylocke running right around the feet of a Sentinel. The Sentinel actually tells Psylocke to leave, but I'm pretty sure that's just a voice recording triggered when sensors detect a nearby mutant. The reality is, these Sentinels were placed there by the US government near the Institute, which is the X-Men's home. So Psylocke, she isn't scared at all. Psylocke, or Betsy Braddock, is fully aware she's being watched by the Sentinels and the humans using cameras in the robot's eyes to monitor mutants. But Betsy doesn't care. She's totally chill, just stretching right in front of them as if they don't even matter. I mean, the X-Men aren't doing anything wrong, so why should she be afraid, right? Nearby, we see Cannonball, aka Sam Guthrie, and Nightcrawler, aka Kurt Wagner, fishing together at the lake. Sam and Kurt realize that the Sentinel has been watching them for almost an hour, but they couldn't care less. Then, Kurt's phone rings. Sam immediately flies up, giving Kurt some space so he can talk in peace. When Kurt picks up, it's actually from Talia, his daughter. Okay, let me pause here so you're not confused, because this needs explaining. So, in another alternate universe, Earth 2182, Nightcrawler and Scarlet Witch have a daughter named Talia. Now, in the Exiles comic story, Talia is basically stuck in this Prime universe and ends up bonding with Nightcrawler. That's the gist of it. Anyway, Talia calls Kurt because she saw news about the Sentinels around the Institute, and she's panicking. But Kurt calms her down, saying he's fine, and the X-Men will sort things out. In the air, Betsy, who's meditating while hovering, gets interrupted by Sam flying fast around her. Sam starts flirting with Betsy, trying to show off his charm. But our psychic friend here seems totally unfazed. She ignores Sam's flirting and instead kicks him toward a Sentinel. Hey, it's just a playful kick, okay? No intention of actually hurting him or anything. Sam, who gets tossed into the Sentinel, is immediately grabbed. Get this, the Sentinel actually labels Sam as an attacker. Obviously, Sam isn't having it. I mean, he just got kicked by Psylocke. Grumbling all the way, Sam breaks free from the Sentinel's grip with a little help from Psylocke. If you ask Sam, he thinks having these Sentinels around actually makes the Xavier Institute feel way less safe. Okay, let's jump to a meeting between the X-Men, represented here by Cyclops and Emma, and the government, represented by Valerie Cooper, Miguel Reyes, and Dr. Senyaka. Basically, they're negotiating the placement of Sentinels at the Institute, which feels like a total squeeze on mutants. I mean, who would feel safe with giant robot cops parked in their front yard, watching every single move you make? During the meeting, Miguel Reyes, the government rep, asks if the X-Men can still use Cerebra. It's like the government is itching to get their hands on the mutant database detected by Cerebra. First, they plant Sentinels at the school, and now they want to poke around Cerebra? Talk about pushy. But Cyclops tells them Cerebra is out of commission because, truthfully, he already wiped all the records. Honestly, I totally agree. Otherwise, every mutant on Earth would be under constant surveillance. At the end of the meeting, they shake hands. Just for show, of course. The government claims they don't see mutants as a threat, but as assets. Yeah, right. Keep that empty talk coming. Next, we see John and Rachel out grocery shopping. Rachel loses her focus for a second when she sees a newspaper with a headline showing the Sentinels in front of the Institute. This honestly triggers her trauma. Remember why Rachel moved to the present? I told you at the start. While walking back to the car, John tries to calm her down, saying that what matters is that Rachel is safe right now. Seriously, this grandpa is the best. I wish I had a grandpa this sweet. Okay, fast forward a few hours to Rachel's room at her grandparents' house. So, turns out John invited the whole Gray extended family to gather tonight. And it makes Rachel really nervous. Rachel remembers these people from her future, and she remembers how, in that timeline, this entire family was wiped out by Sentinels. Rachel calls Kitty Pryde for advice. Kitty tells her that this family reunion is a perfect moment to reconnect after everything Rachel went through in the future. Well, Kitty has a point. What do you guys think? There's a knock on the door, and Elaine says the whole family has arrived. Rachel says she'll be down in a minute. Finally, Rachel leaves her room, heads downstairs, and meets everyone. You can tell she's super nervous, especially when she hits the first floor and realizes everyone's eyes are locked on her. What she doesn't know is that there's someone lurking outside, spying on the gathering. But the weird thing for Rachel is she finds herself actually enjoying it. She starts feeling happy. Honestly, it's such a warm moment. The Gray family has never met Rachel since she's from the future, so they're excited. Meanwhile, Rachel feels like she's reuniting with the family she could never see in her own timeline. They chat about everything, including mutants. But Rachel, she isn't offended at all. Then, out of nowhere, a guy nudges Rachel out toward the porch. Who's this? It looks like this guy wants to get to know Rachel, but he wants to do it outside, away from the crowd. He introduces himself as Terry Maguire. Just as they're hitting it off, John steps out and reminds Rachel she promised him a dance. This might just be a grandpa move, being protective of his granddaughter. Terry gets flustered and heads back inside. From John's words here, you can tell he really misses his daughter, Jean. And finally, they start to dance, not because Rachel wants a lesson, but just so they can both feel at peace. But suddenly, something absolutely shocking happens. John's body suddenly catches fire and explodes, literally blowing to pieces. What the hell? Rachel can only scream, completely frozen. And at the bottom of this page, a very familiar logo appears. For those of you watching, do any of you know what logo this is? Let me know in the comments. Part 2 begins. Turns out, there's a group trying to destroy this gathering in the worst way possible. They're discussing targets inside the house, and then they begin their massacre of the Gray family. And it all starts with John Gray, Jean's father, being obliterated. On the next page, we see one of the figures behind this. This person is draped in a dark cloak, and they hurl a spear straight into the house. Inside, the Gray family has no clue what's happening. They're just hanging out like a normal family, unaware that their lives might end in less than a few minutes. The spear impales one of the men in the Gray family, going right through his body. Everyone is in total shock, having no idea what's going on. Rachel is still outside, her brain trying to process the madness. This is insane. Who is even doing this? A second later, several aliens crash through the windows. There are at least 3 of them: a female figure, a rock-like being, and some kind of insect swarm. One thing's for sure, they're aliens, not from Earth. They lunge at the Gray family and start picking them off one by one. Rachel, still on the porch, immediately uses her telepathy to call for the X-Men. We see Cyclops, Emma, Psylocke, Kitty, and Nightcrawler, all picking up Rachel's distress signal. The leader of this group then instructs one of his members to make sure nobody escapes. And look at this. The guy he's talking to is actually a cloud of smoke. Seriously, smoke-shaped aliens? We also see this alien squad taking out Gray family members even in the yard. Meanwhile, back at the Institute, Nightcrawler picks up Kitty and Psylocke, who is still in her towel, and they immediately teleport to John Gray's house. On the next page, we see the attacking group. I'll just tell you now, they're the Shi'ar Death Commandos, an alien squad sent to Earth by the Shi'ar Empire. The leader is that guy with the horned mask, aka Black Cloak. And their mission? To wipe out the Gray genome entirely, down to the last person. The Death Commandos keep slaughtering the Gray family, both inside and outside the house. There's literally no way for the family to run, especially with so many aliens surrounding the place. Even Nightcrawler, who just arrived with Kitty and Psylocke, has to hide on the roof first. If they just barge in, it's suicide. Nightcrawler tries to teleport away to find more help. On this page, we see the remains, or whatever is left, of John. It's just a glowing trail, like burning embers. And Rachel is absolutely livid. By now, she definitely realizes there are aliens in her home. Up on the roof, Psylocke and Kitty finally agree to jump in, no matter how dangerous it is, because the people inside are almost all gone. Meanwhile, in the bottom panel, we see Nightcrawler failing to teleport. I'm not sure why. Maybe he's being attacked, or maybe there's some kind of force field blocking him. Okay, next page. Rachel has stood up, and she can't hold back her emotions anymore. She's walking out, ready to fight and get revenge. Poor John. He really was a great guy. Kitty and Psylocke get ready to strike. Honestly, I still don't get why Psylocke didn't find some clothes first. Why does she have to fight in a bath towel? Psylocke prepares to attack an alien shooting at the family outside, while Kitty readies to ambush another alien inside a bedroom. As for Rachel, she sneaks into the kitchen, trying to take on a swarm-like alien nearby. Unfortunately, their attacks don't go 100% smoothly. Warshot, the alien Psylocke is facing, notices her, and they end up clashing. Luckily, where Kitty is, she manages to land a hit on an alien named Devo by catching him from behind. And for Rachel herself, she manages to push back the swarm alien from the kitchen. At least, she saved one life there. But the big reveal on this page is Nightcrawler's confession. He couldn't teleport because there's a force field surrounding the house, preventing Kurt from bringing in reinforcements. Kurt and Betsy head inside, joining the fight while trying to save anyone still breathing. They know they can't leave, so there's only one solution. They have to win. Meanwhile, the massacre continues outside. The surviving Greys can't even reach their cars because they're being cut down first. The saddest part here, Rachel is basically watching her family die all over again. just like in her future. Through her telepathy, Rachel gives instructions to her friends. For Kurt, save Kitty. For Betsy, cover her grandma. Well, at least Elaine is still alive, but even so, it's not easy. For example, on this page, we see Psylocke captured by an alien named Shell, who's basically a rock alien. At least in the back, Elaine is still hanging on. Rachel herself flies out to fight another alien, the winged one named Crate. Meanwhile, Kitty and Psylocke are both pinned down by their opponents. Where are the other X-Men? Where's Cyclops? Didn't he hear Kitty's alarm? But hey, this is the X-Men, or more accurately, an X-Men comic. They won't go down that easy. Psylocke manages to fight back against a female alien named Hypernova, while Nightcrawler saves Kitty from an attack by an alien named Offset. The battle rages on. Even though there are only 4 X-Men, they have no choice but to keep fighting. We don't know how many Greys are left alive, and one thing's for sure, they can't escape because of that force field trapping them inside. On this page, we see Rachel and Crate get slammed into the roof because they hit the force field, crashing right into Nightcrawler and Kitty, who didn't have time to dodge. Meanwhile, Psylocke, who just beat Hypernova, gets blindsided and knocked unconscious. Rachel wakes up from the crash to find Nightcrawler and Kitty out cold. She apologizes for accidentally hitting them. But then, the leader of the Shi'ar Commandos, Black Cloak, is already standing right in front of her. Black Cloak calls Rachel the Primary. What does that even mean? Then, Black Cloak attacks Rachel with some kind of small energy blast, knocking her down. He flips Rachel over, so she's face down on the ground. He tears her shirt, exposing her back. And you know what he does next? Black Cloak pours a single drop of liquid from a small vial onto Rachel's back, and that liquid starts burning her skin, slowly forming a symbol. Rachel screams in pure agony. It's a haunting scream. What is happening? And this is what we see on the final page of Part 2. On Rachel's back, there's now a symbol shaped like, I don't know, a pair of wings? A bird? And Black Cloak says, she will never hide again. What? Is this some kind of tracker so Rachel can never run away from these Shi'ar Commandos? After branding Rachel's back, Black Cloak grabs her by the head and lifts her up. He tells her that she's been judged by Imperial law. Okay, somebody fill me in here, please. But suddenly, someone shouts from near Black Cloak's feet, yelling, "Not yet!" Turns out, Kitty Pryde is there to save the day. She grabs Rachel's leg, making her intangible, so Black Cloak can't touch her, which breaks his grip. As soon as Rachel hits the ground, she blasts Black Cloak with a massive telekinetic punch that sends him flying. That's it, Rachel. Fight back! Rachel starts unloading on Black Cloak, screaming out the names of every Grey family member murdered that night. Her cousins, her uncles, her aunts. She names them all, while she pummels him. At least one family member is still breathing, her grandmother, Elaine Gray. After impaling Black Cloak with his own spear, Rachel rushes to the other side of the house to check on her grandma. But the nightmare isn't over yet. One of Black Cloak's goons is still standing tall. It's a massive Skrull alien named Flaw. Flaw is holding an unconscious Psylocke, and behind him, Rachel's grandma is terrified, unable to even stand. Flaw warns Rachel to back off, or he'll do to Elaine exactly what he did to Psylocke. But Rachel? She's not backing down. Using her powers, she tosses Flaw out of the house without a second thought. I always love it when Rachel powers up. There's this fiery aura around her, showing she's definitely a prime candidate for the Phoenix Force. Anyway, as Rachel walks toward Flaw to finish him off, she hears Black Cloak's voice again. Rachel turns around and sees Black Cloak standing there, with his entire team. He tells Rachel she fought bravely, but her time is up, and she's about to join Jean, and in this case, that means dying. Rachel refuses and gets ready to go again, but Black Cloak says she has no one left to protect anyway. Her entire family was wiped out just for having the same genes as her, and suddenly, full of rage, Elaine turns to Rachel and slaps her, calling her a monster. Rachel is stunned, but this is where all of Elaine's grief explodes. Elaine says she still can't accept that her daughter Jean left home with Charles Xavier to become an X-Men. Because by being an X-Men, Jean had to deal with the Phoenix, which eventually took her life. And now, because of that legacy, Elaine's entire family was massacred in one night, and her husband was the first victim. All that's left is Rachel, a granddaughter from the future she doesn't even acknowledge. Hearing this, Rachel just collapses in tears. Man, this scene hits way too deep. On the next page, Black Cloak explains that the Shi'ar Empire sent them to Earth specifically to eliminate any potential hosts for the Phoenix. Since the Phoenix is one of the most destructive forces in the universe and has already devastated the Shi'ar before, they ordered the Commandos to wipe out the gray DNA entirely. But suddenly, a massive thud shakes the outside of the house. What now? It's Cannonball, aka Sam Guthrie, trying to smash through the force field. Since Kurt didn't have time to teleport him, Sam had to fly there solo, but the force field kept him out. But Sam isn't giving up. He keeps hammering away at the barrier. Black Cloak tells Sega, the smoke alien, to recalibrate the field. Sega says he'll set it so that when Cannonball hits it again, the field will reflect the energy back, vaporizing Sam and everything within a 5-mile radius. Talk about cheating. Luckily, Psylocke overhears this, and with Kitty's help sneaking her behind Black Cloak, Psylocke attacks Sega, destroying his control over the force field. With the field down, Sam slams into the house like a human rocket, breaking the Commandos' formation. Right then, the rest of the X-Men, Colossus, Gambit, and Rogue, burst in and start taking names. Nice! Bishop shows up too, along with Cyclops, Emma Frost, and even the Sentinels and Dr. Reyes. Rachel is actually relieved to see the Sentinels. Victory is finally in sight. I mean, even though her grandma's house is a wreck and her whole family is gone. Rachel says it's finally over, and even Black Cloak seems to accept it, you know? But nope. Black Cloak fires a laser blast from his eyes toward Rachel and Elaine. Rachel manages to dodge, but Elaine doesn't. The blast hits her directly, killing her instantly. Scott, seeing this happen right in front of him, loses it and fires an optic blast at Black Cloak. But a Sentinel's hand slams into the ground, blocking the shot. Reyes grabs Cyclops from behind, telling him to stop. And that's when Black Cloak says, "They surrender. Are you kidding me? After you butchered an entire family and the X-Men show up, now you surrender? How convenient." But the most annoying part? Reyes stands in front of Black Cloak, stopping Scott from attacking, saying the X-Men aren't executioners. Well, open your eyes, Reyes. Can't you see an entire family was just erased from existence right here? In the middle of Scott's fury, Rachel suddenly calms him down. But wait, why do they look like they're in some kind of astral form? Turns out, using her telepathy, Rachel pulled Scott into the astral plane, and all around them, everyone is frozen in time. Rachel apologizes because she couldn't protect her family. But Scott knows this isn't her fault. Then Emma Frost joins them in the astral plane to calm Scott down too. Well, we all know Scott's love for Jean never really fades, regardless of Emma or anyone else. Why? Because he loved Jean so much that he feels this deep, crushing grief seeing Elaine lying there, motionless. Kitty Pryde eventually finds her way into the astral plane too, though I'm honestly not sure how she pulled that off. Anyway, Kitty comforts Rachel, telling her that what her grandmother said might not be true. But Rachel knows her grandma wasn't lying. Then she sees what looks like the spirits of her grandparents embracing. Elaine's spirit looks so happy to be reunited with John, and they begin to walk away with the rest of the family. John's spirit even looks back at Rachel and gives her one last smile. The spirits of the Gray family walk toward a bright light at the end, holding hands and hugging as they move together. And in that light, there's an image of Jean Grey, locking eyes with Rachel. Jean isn't smiling, and honestly, I can't tell exactly what's on her mind. The scene shifts to some time later, after all the Gray family members have been laid to rest. The weather is snowy, your typical sad ending setting for a graveyard scene. Kitty and Betsy are the last ones left with Rachel after the other X-Men have headed out. Kitty says she has to go, leaving Betsy alone there. At the bottom of the page, we see the graves of the entire Gray family, including Jean Grey, who was already buried here before. Standing alone at the gravesite, Rachel wonders why the Shi'ar didn't target Cable, who, let's be real, also carries the Grey bloodline. But either way, what's done is done, with only herself left as perhaps the last living Grey. Maybe one day, the Shi'ar will get what's coming to them. They'll wish she were the Phoenix. Okay, so that was the story from Uncanny X-Men Volume 1, issues 466 to 468, titled Gray's End. I still think if Jean Grey were alive, the Shi'ar Commandos wouldn't have stood a single chance. What do you guys think? Thanks for watching this video until the end. I really hope you enjoyed this story. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Comic Leap so you don't miss out on more superhero stories. I'll see you on the next Leap.